Welcome to the home of horsepower at ACESoft Practice Management Systems. Today we're going to look at getting started with the ACESoft Business Manager Program. First of all, we're going to go to our company tab here and make sure that our resources and company information is complete, and we've put in our accepted payments, logo path, etc. Our locations can be added here. You would put a description here on the first line and then add your address, phone number information set as your mailing or primary address and hit your add button here. The default tab in the company information, this is where you can set a finance charge rate and a minimum finance charge for billing your clients who are late paying you. This is also where you enter your tax rate information, your sales tax rate for your region. If you're going to use a credit or integrated credit card processing, you would need to set up an account with our partner processor and set that, specify that here. These are where you can also specify starting numbers for various things in the program, including your invoice numbers, etc. Now, moving on, we want to go to the accounting tab, and here we're going to go up to resources and select our default options. And this is where we can set some defaults for the program. For example, in our project and medical procedures, we can specify the default income account. We can also specify to close records permanently when we close a medical record or a project record for that matter. There are 3 inventory accounts available in the inventory item screen to specify how the income, the asset, and the cost of goods sold are tracked for each of those. If you are collecting and paying sales tax, you can specify your sales tax accounts here as well. Here you can describe your finance charge, call it what you want it to show up on your invoice, as well as specify the income account for those. Now we're going to head on over to inventory, and we're going to specify some default options for our inventory by going up to resources and default options. And here we can select our receive site, where inventory is by default placed into inventory when we receive items. And we can also specify a vend site, which would be the site from where items are deducted when we invoice an item. You can have as many sites as you like, and each workstation can have different sites specified. If you need to add a site, you can do so simply by right-clicking on the arrow and go to Add, and here you can add and describe your additional sites. I'm going to close out of this, and next we're going to talk about the building blocks that you want to put into place as you enter your data into the program to prepare it for use. The first thing you might want to do is add inventory items, because they are a kind of a foundational building block of data for the program. We have the program built so that inventory items are separate from procedures, where a procedure would be something that might include an inventory item. So here we are in the inventory list, and as you can see, there's a lot of information here. This is a short version for demonstration purposes, but all the lists, and you'll see elsewhere in the program, this same paradigm is used repeatedly. You can really customize these lists to show you a lot of information in different ways. For example, I can grab this column header for category and drag it up into this area, and then that separates all my items by category. I can also click on any one of these headers and sort them. Here we're sorting by name, and then from highest to lowest, and if I click again, it reverses the order. Again, I can put these in order of the retail price. Now, if there's any of these that I don't want to see, I can simply drag them off the screen, and when I see that X, it will go away. To bring it back, I just right-click on any one of these headers, and here's my field chooser, and these are all the different options I have for display and sorting, of course. Now over here, I can expand this, and this will show how I have created these various categories, which can be added by coming up here to Resources and go to Product Categories, and here you can add them. There's also a shortcut in the inventory item itself that allows you to access that same capability. I'm going to go back to Sort by Name and Category, and I'm going to open up this West Nile vaccine single dose by double-clicking on the line. And here you can see where I have it categorized. If I need to add another category, I can right-click here and go New, and then here I can add, enter my category and click the Add button, and that will add that to the list. You see the screen is separated into 4 basic categories. You got your source category, where you have indicated your category, manufacturer, supplier. This is your default receiving site that we specified earlier in the default options. You can change this here. You don't have to use the default, of course. You can change them as you go. If you would like to use the expiration date, just click on this box here, and then that activates the ability to enter that expiration information. Your sell as description, this here, is going to be the description that's used on your medical records and invoices. Retail price and a markup percentage. If you specify a markup percentage, it will automatically adjust the retail price based on your wholesale price. So if your wholesale price changes, it will automatically be updated when you change that. Over here you can specify it's taxable on sale. You also have an option to specify if it's taxable on purchase. The income accounts, again, income account, cost of goods sold account, inventory asset account, these were all automatically populated by that default selection that we did in accounting default options. Of course, you can change them here if you like to, just by clicking on the drop down there. You can select a different cost of goods sold. I'm going to stick with vet supply here on this one. Then in this area is our purchase as description. This is what would show up on a purchase order that you would send to your vendor. There's your wholesale price, and then we also have a place for us to enter a sales yield. Now the sales yield, and this is a very good example of how this is utilized. We buy our West Nile vaccine in a 10-dose tank, yet we're selling it here or using it as a single dose. So that would create a sales yield of 10. So by putting this 10 in here, the program will automatically convert what we buy into what we sell. And then also our cost per yield and our net profit up above here are going to be computed based on those numbers. The purchase quantity is the default quantity that's going to show up on your purchase order when you create that to make a purchase. This, of course, down here shows your in-stock quantities, reorder level. That's like your low stock level. So when you run a report that you want to see what you're running low on, this is the number that it's going to use for that. So I'm just going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to hit cancel, which will close it without making any changes to what I've done. Now, to make a new inventory item, you can either right click over here on this part of the screen and click New Product. There is also an icon up here at the top that you can click on to make a new product, and it looks like that when it opens up. You see that some of those default options that we selected are pre-filled. Another option is you can highlight one of these, and let's say you're going to make a duplicate a similar yet not identical item, you can highlight that item on the list and press Control C on your keyboard, and what that does is it creates a duplicate of that inventory item without any expiration, lot number, sell as SKU, or in stock information. So it's basically an empty shell. But if you are making a lot of similar products, it saves you a lot of repetitive data entry. So I'm going to close that now. Next, we're going to head on over to our medical tab, and over here we're going to work on procedures, which essentially are the next step of the building blocks in order to get the program ready for use. Again, as you saw before, we have the ability to create various categories, and here the categories can actually be used different ways, and I'll show you some of that in a minute. But again, you see we have our list, very similar in functionality and capability. You've got your field chooser, so you can add or remove various items. Again, I've used the category as my grouping feature. I can sort by category, or as I showed you a moment ago, you can drag that up into that area up there and actually group by category and then sort by name. So you'll see if we open let's go to that West Nile vaccine. I'm going to put our categories in the reverse order so we show vaccination category down here. We're going to go to that West Nile vaccine and show you how to build a procedure properly. So here's one that's built already. Again, just like in the inventory item, you can right click over in this portion of the screen and add a new procedure, or you can use the icon up here to click on to add a new one. Here I have one that's already made, and for illustration purposes, you can see we've got the categorized as a vaccination. And again, I can add another category by right-clicking and going new here. So while it's a good idea to lay these building blocks as much as you can ahead of time before you start trying to use the program, we've also made it very easy to make these changes and updates and additions on the fly as you're actually creating things. There's very little need to close out of one thing to get to something else. It's all very workflow oriented. So the title or name of your procedure in this case is the West Nile vaccine. And this code I'll show you in a moment. Actually, I'll show you now. If you right click, and we're just going to make a new medical record, and I'll show you what that looks like and what the code, some of the things that the code can be used for. In this case, I'm using the code because we have, if you'll notice, two West Nile vaccines. One was set up with a numeric code, which is what I know some people like to select their procedures using a numeric code. But I've also got it as a description of the reminder that's associated with this vaccine. So if I were to go into the procedure selection of a medical record, and I'm going to go to find a West Nile vaccine, you see I've got two listed here, just as you see in the procedure list, one with this numeric code and the other with this vaccine reminder. So this is where the code actually comes in very handy. You can certainly search or search on the code or sort by code, but you can also use it to be informative, because this, unless you specify, is not going to show up on an invoice. So you can see here it's on the medical record after we select it, but that's not going to print on the invoice. Only the name of the procedure will. Now I'm going to close out of this medical record and go back to focusing on the procedure. And so we've specified that the income account for this procedure is services. And here's the price that's being displayed, but this is not where we enter the price. I'll show you that in just a moment. Here is a place where we can add a reminder, and in this case I'll just double click on the one that's already in here, and you can see how this is built. Basically you just put your message in there, and this is the message that will show up when you send out a reminder. Dear so-and-so, your horse is due for the following, and so this would be listed on that after the following. You set your duration. In this case, this was set up as a 6-month, and you can set it as 6 months, or you can set it as 26 weeks, or the appropriate amount of days. There's also an option to have a pop-up reminder, and I don't recommend doing this with every reminder that you create. Comes in handy for a pop-up reminder to remind your staff to process lab work or something. So you might want to have a pop-up reminder for a lab procedure, or a follow-up call after an emergency or something to that effect. But if you try to put all your reminders into pop-up mode, you're going to be endless. You're going to have endless pop-ups, and it probably will not be the desired effect that you want. So coming back to the procedure again, if we go into the material time cost matrix, this is where we set up the pricing for this procedure. Not only the pricing, but also we can associate inventory items with this, in which case we have associated this specific West Nile vaccine. To access the inventory, you just click on this little button here, and this brings up our inventory selection screen, and I'm just going to move that aside here. And so we can add, as you see here, we've added the West Nile. I'm just going to categorize this, and I'm just going to select this one here just to illustrate how that pops in there and becomes part of this procedure. Now when you invoice this procedure, these items will automatically be taken out of inventory, and right now we have this set to auto total, so any price changes here are going to be reflected on that invoice as well. So if we were to change the price of this vaccine, for example, it's going to adjust the price of our procedure. And of course you can use any combination of inventory and labor pricing to come up with your total price. If you have questions, miss something here, one of the things throughout the program that you may find very helpful is this help button on each one of these items. Each screen has a help button, and scrolling your mouse over will explain what each item does. So you can, again, that's throughout the program. Each one of our dialogues or screens, as you might refer to them, has that feature built in. So coming back now, we see that our retail price for this is the $46, and I'm just going to close this now. Now, while we are still here in the medical module and looking at procedures, I want to point out how some of the different ways you can use the categories. I've got one here as an example, colic treatment, and if I click on that, it's going to bring up all the items in that category, of course, and you can see that we've got a bunch of things that are associated with your typical colic type visit. And one of the reasons that I've done this here is so that when you're making a medical record, and we'll just go to make a new one here for illustration purposes, and I pick up this procedure selection screen, and right here I can select a category, and if I select colic treatment, you'll see what happens is I have what essentially becomes a checklist for the items that I may use on that. Scrolling down, and we will just pick those, and that helps to prevent missing charges. You'll see that this variable popped up in this. That means that there's an item here that we have to enter a quantity in, this Banamine injectable, and I'm going to show you in a minute how selecting products in procedures can affect how this works. So we're just going to put in that we did 4 of those, and that's of course, if I double click here, I can see that that's intended to be per cc. So 4 cc's of Banamine injectable is what's going into this medical record, and that's how much is going to be deducted from inventory. And if we have this procedure set for auto total, it would charge according to how much we actually used. This apparently is set to edit total, so this price is going to remain at $36 regardless of how much Banamine we use or how much we're charging for it. I'm going to close this now, and then I'm going to show you some variations on product usage within procedure. I'm going to go to the sedations and show, this is a good place to show you a couple of different things that you can do. Here is a sedation. I'm going to pull this over a little bit here so you can see it easier. Sedation 0.5 cc Dorm plus 1.5 cc Torb. So if I open that, and I'm just going to slide this down, and I'm going to open this other Dorm Torb sedation just so that you can see them side by side. And just by the way, you can do this throughout the program with medical records or patient records where you can have multiple windows open at the same time. And I'm going to look at both of the structure on these. So you see on our 0.5 and 1.5, we have specified those quantities in this procedure. So that is a fixed amount, and each time we put this procedure, each time we invoice this procedure, it's going to take those appropriate those quantities out of inventory. On our medical record, it's not going to specify these because we've already specified it in the name of the procedure. On the other hand, here on this one, we have not specified quantities, and so instead we're going to be prompted to enter those quantities at the medical record. And so let me show you that real quick. Again, specifying 0 in your material time cost matrix will have the effect of having you enter it manually into the medical record. So I'm going to just close these, and we're going to again just make a new medical record to show you how that works. So I'm going to go to sedations in my category selection, and I'm going to pick this one, and you see how that is shown, sedation 0.5 cc, etc., and it's one of those. Now I'm going to add the other one, sedations and sedation Dorm Torb. So now when I select that, again you see this variable is indicated, and so we're going to put 0.9 and 1.75. And so now when we invoice this, that's what's going to come out of inventory. And I believe in this case of this one, we have that set to auto total. So however much we have specified here is going to be computed by this price, and the price at the invoice will be adjusted accordingly. So again, clicking on the help and scrolling your mouse over the various areas of the medical record in this example get you a lot of information. And those are really the first building blocks that you want to build into your system prior to use. Certainly some of it you can do as you go, and I showed you how easy it is to do so. Another thing that you can do with your procedures is, just like we did in inventory items, highlighting an item on the list and pressing Control-C will make a duplicate of that item, still with the same cost matrix built in, but it does drop the reminder information and the code information for you to enter something different. In reference to those building blocks, probably the next thing that you'll want to do is start putting in some of your contacts and patients. And so we'll go to the contact screen next. And here you see a contact list, and we're sorted by last name here. You could certainly sort by mobile phone or by email or any other criteria that you want, and you can change the order of these. And again, you have your field chooser if you want to add additional columns. I'll add the first name here, for example, and we're going to slide that over and change the order. You can also stretch these and change the width of them. A lot of things you can do. Each one of these lists also has a search feature where you can search by any one of these column headers. By last name, for example, here, if I start typing in a D, it's going to bring up all my last names that start with D, and then I can continue to filter on them by adding more letters. Let's go ahead and add a new customer here, or contact. Again, you have the ability to categorize, and here's a kind of a typical equine practice categorization grouping there. I can click up here for add a new contact, and let's just put somebody in for fun here. You can put the first name and last name, of course, and here's where you specify the display name. Certainly you can enter an email address, and that way you can email invoices and medical records, etc., directly to the customer and have their email information automatically populated in that process. Here's where you specify the type or the category. I'll put him as a client. Locations. I'm going to put in a home address. Now, it's important that you have to have a description in order to activate this window here, and then we'll just enter some information. And we'll put in a phone number. And then we want to set this as the primary location, and then we can also set it as a mailing address. This program supports the ability to have an unlimited amount of addresses for a customer, and typically you'll want to put specify if they just have one, that would be typically their primary and their mailing address. The mailing address, of course, is what's going to be used for all the forms in the program. And then to save this address, here we're going to press the add button there. And if we've got contact information in there as we want it, we're going to hit apply. Now you see when we did that, he was automatically added to the list, but until we saved it or hit apply, he was not. So it's very important if you're going to add a patient to this customer that you save the customer contact first, because without that there is not a link in the system yet to add that patient, which is what we're going to do next. We have this new contact that we just created and saved. Again, very important that we save that first. And then we're going to press here to add a new patient. You'll see that opened up the new patient screen. And what that did by adding him from the patient or from the contact record, it automatically populates this patient contact dialog here. And so Joe customer is the 100% financially responsible party for this patient we're about to add. He's also the primary contact, and the primary contact is the one in whose name medical records and reminders will be created in. And then this, of course, is the default location, because this was Joe customer's primary address or primary location, as it were. Now, let's just say, for example, that this patient that we're about to add actually does not live at this address here, and instead is at a public boarding facility. What you want to do, instead of adding that public facility address to Joe customer or adding it to the patient, you want to add it really as a separate contact. And that's one of the reasons we have stables as a category in here. And so let's just say the horse is at Churchill Downs, in which case we want to select Churchill Downs as a contact associated with this patient. And you can have any number of contacts associated with the patient. And if you've got multiple ownership where you're doing a split billing, you would just change the percentage accordingly for each contact that is associated here. Now, to specify the patient location, once you've put this Churchill Downs in here, you'll see when you click on this select a site or location button, that's going to bring up all the addresses associated with all the contacts that are in this yellow grid over here. So I'm going to select Churchill Downs, and then of course that populates that information. And then once we've got all this set up, then we go over to the patient tab, and this is going to be where we're going to put in the vitals for the patient. So let's just enter something here, name, and we can have a nickname or a barn name if we like, and then have either one displayed. I'll just show you here. So we'll say the patient's barn name is Geo, and so you see we have the option to have either one of those displayed, and this is what will be displayed on the medical record, invoice, and etc. So here we can specify a gender. If you're just getting started with this program, you're not going to have anything in there because we leave this for you to customize to your liking. So you would just right click on here and add that accordingly, or you can go through and do that before you even get to this point. Again, colors, similarly, you can add a new one, and then you won't have to look it up next, or you just do the lookup next time. If you put in an age, it will automatically set the date of birth accordingly, and it will default to January 1st, but of course you can specify a specific date as well. These all work the same way. They're just drop downs that you can add to as you go. Class is just kind of an extra way of filtering data on patients. So I'm going to hit apply. Apply saves this record without actually closing it. or you can hit save and close, which does just what it says. And once we do that, you'll see George showed up over here under Joe Customer's list of patients that would be beginning here and running as we add more and more. So I'm going to save the new contact now as well. And those are the essential building blocks. You've got your, just to review, we've entered some inventory, we've made some procedures with reminders and inventory item associations. We've added customers and added patients. So next, let's head on over to the schedule and let's take a look at that. Now here you see we already have some items on the schedule. Let's just, I'm going to double click up here and open a new appointment. Now one of the things that we've done with the schedule is we've created this as a great place to work from. So where we were entering procedures and contacts and inventory items in those tabs and those modules at different parts of the program, you can actually do it all right from here. So we can click here on the appointment dialog, and we can select. We'll just type in a few words, and we'll select Joe Customer, the one that we just added. Or if we don't want to do that, and instead we can add a new customer right from here if we like. And we would just go through that same process that we just did, entering their name, their locations, and then saving that, of course, and by hitting apply, and then add patients from there. And then once we've done that, they pop up to the top of the list here. You can click on them and put them right there in that appointment. I'm going to close this, and we're going to go back to Joe Customer. We'll add him into our appointment here, and with him highlighted, we go to this horse head here, and this brings up our patient list, and that highlighting filters the patients to just show Joe's patients. If we didn't have him highlighted, it would show all the patients in the system. So we'll put George in there, and then let's go ahead and add a procedure to this. We'll just add a colic exam, for example, and one of the things here that you see is that it added 20 minutes of time to this appointment. And so this is when you add procedures to the appointment, it's going to automatically block out the appropriate amount of time on the schedule. Now one of the things I wanted to point out too is, again, if you go through here and you don't see the procedure that you want, you can add it by clicking here. And here you can add a new procedure without having to go back to the procedure list and start from there. You can do it right here from the appointment. You can even go to your material time cost matrix, click here to add inventory to it, and if you don't see the inventory item that you need for this procedure, you can add it too by clicking there. And so you can do a whole lot right from the appointment screen. And then after you've got that, you can close that up, and we're back here at the appointment window. With Joe highlighted again, you can click there, and that will populate the phone number field automatically. And the reason we don't just automatically do that is because you can have multiple contacts in the appointment, and so this enables you to highlight one and click on the phone button so that you can have quick access to anybody's phone number that you want. Now the color coding that is available to you is right here under this label. Here you can see kind of some ideas of how this can be used for an ambulatory practice with a large region that they cover. It's very helpful to color code your appointments by region, so you know that at a glance you get a real good feel for where things are and where you're going to be. But for other types of practices, you might want to just specify a type of appointment. Like here, there's one for surgery, for example. It really is entirely up to you. Now, to add a new one, again, with this closed, right-click on the down arrow, and that takes you to your ability to add appointment labels. Your color source, your color options are not only these, but you can choose from all these, and if that's not enough color for you, you can pick any color of the rainbow, and the sky's the limit. So now that we have created an appointment, we can just save and close that. Oh, I forgot to color it. Let's just color it North region. So now we have this bright red, and let's just move this appointment over to Saturday. So I'm just dragging and dropping it with my mouse, and let's pretend we need more time. We can actually stretch that accordingly to accommodate more time. Now you see, one of the things that we've done here is that when we added this patient, it automatically filled in the site location, it filled that patient location. And the reason it did that was because of some settings here. And let's just go up to the calendar options, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. That's in the advanced section of the calendar options. You have subject, which is what is selected here, and so that's going to use the patient location. It's going to automatically put the patient location into the appointment when that patient is selected. You could instead have the contact, the company address, or none at all. Going over here, some other options. Here's your tooltip. I have this set to custom, and these are the items that I have selected, pretty much everything with the exception of added by. And what that does is it determines what's going to pop up when you scroll your mouse over an appointment. Again, another highly customizable aspect of this program. This button here is your schedule selection, and this enables you to see multiple schedules at a glance. So I'm just going to pick 2 doctors, for example, and so there now you see you've got them both displayed. To change back, you can just go back and go to a single schedule, and each computer can have its own view. If you're on a network and you've got multiple workstations, or if you've got multiple remote units running out in the field, each one can have its own setting. So just to recap here, the building blocks of data, getting the program ready for use. Probably want to start with your inventory items and get those in there. Then build your procedures. Certainly the inventory, if you're going to utilize inventory as part of the procedures, you're going to want to have that inventory there first, at least as much as you can. Also, it is very easy to add those items on the fly as you go. But if you're out in the field and in a hurry trying to write up something for a customer, you're probably not going to want to go through all those steps. So then, of course, having the contacts, getting your customer information into the system, and the patient information. But a couple things just to remember that are very important. One is that in order to add that patient to the customer, you want to make sure and save that customer first. The way the program is structured. The contacts and patients are linked together. They're not owned by one another or anything. They are linked. And until one exists, and by virtue of saving it, there's no possible way for the program to link the other item to it. And so that's just something very important to remember as you go along here. But once you get those building blocks in place, you'll find that the program is very fast, efficient, and easy to use, and will be a great workhorse for you in getting your customers billed and keeping you organized and on track. But that's going to do us for this session. Come back next time, and we will be going through actually using the program now that we've got the building blocks under control. Thanks very much.